Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Unleash Your Potential podcast. My name is John Brucato. I'm your host. My co-host Robert Villa is out in the valley, so I'm flying solo today. But I'm here with a very special guest, my good friend Tony Batista, and I'm excited. We got great content for you. If you don't know, this podcast's goal is to help you level up and become the best version of yourself. And speaking of which, one of my great friends, man, Tony Batista, he has done that, man. He has lived an incredible life, and he's done so many things in service to our country and his community, and he has leveled up and he has become the greatest version of himself. And I'm very excited for you guys to get to meet him and hear his story. Tony, good morning.
Good morning, John. It is truly an honor and a pleasure to be with you this morning. I think I love what you just mentioned. I love what you're doing in terms of improving people's life.
Thank you.
Because at the end of the day, that's what we all should be doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tony. And we're gonna get into our discussion in just a little bit, but I would love for everybody, Tony, just to get to know you a little bit. So are you from the Houston area originally?
Well, yeah, that's a great question, John. I'm actually Cuban born.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I came to the U.S. at the age of 10.
Wow.
And I've been truly blessed all my life. I settled initially in Miami, and also lived in Puerto Rico for a while. Mm-hmm. I joined the service from Puerto Rico. I went in the Air Force. Great decision. I was honored to serve this country. Yeah. And then things have moved on. I was in the aviation industry. I was in the airline industry for many, many years. I truly learned and managed many of the different areas that there are opportunities to have. Uh-huh. And then, 15 years ago, I decided to open up my own business, and I chose flooring, through simply movements of God and God guiding me in my life.
Yeah, amen to that, man. So how did you end up in Houston?
So in Houston in about it was towards the end of Reagan's area, where Reagan, if you recall, the air traffic controllers were dismissed, and so a lot of us were affected. I was a young guy in the airline industry at that point, and I ended up, this was an opportunity. The airline I was working for, Eastern Airlines, chose to actually add service here in Houston.
Oh, wow, okay.
And that's how I came, and obviously I eventually met my wife, and I've been in and around Houston now for all of these years.
Wow, that's amazing, Tony. And so, I know your story now, how powerful it is. What was the aha moment, that where you went from working in the airline industry to working in your own business? What was the aha moment where you said, I got to get out of here and go do my own thing?
Well, thank you for that question as well. It's interesting because we do think about it, but as we change our lives, and that applies to all of us. You said an aha moment would be something where, you're not really expecting it,
right,
and it's a surprise to you as well. I happened to be, the last airline I worked for was Delta Airlines, where I was responsible for all of Latin America, based in Atlanta, Georgia. But my home was still here in Houston. Yeah. I felt something inside of me that I had been working for other folks for a long time. Yeah. And I always serve well because I don't ever feel like you're really working for the person that you're really working for, if you would. Yeah. I think you're guided by other principles. And I had the opportunity, and it opened up. I was helping my daughter, who is very physically fit, and she does a lot of exercise, etc. Still today. And we opened up a little shop, called it a tea house at that point. Okay. And then, I knew something was out there, and God sort of led me in a different direction. Ended up doing flooring. We started out with wood at the very beginning. Yeah. And as I said, now 15 years later, here we are.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's powerful, man. So what you said was, something was missing. You wanted to do something with your daughter, and you did. You opened up the tea house. Mm-hmm. And so you went from tea, and whatnot to flooring. That's an interesting. It's an interesting transition.
Yeah, realistically, John, a friend of mine, and this might be sort of surprising to those that watch this interview, because I was truly sitting in my business, seeing how we were going to make things work, because it was a very challenging time. This is 2008, 2009.
Oh yeah.
So simply a friend of mine brings this guy in and says, "Hey, this guy needs a partner."
Yeah.
Through events that same day, I end up talking to the guy, and it led me in this direction. And sometimes we're not. So the message here, John, is for us to always be prepared, because we never know what's going to come our way.
That's right.
That we're not necessarily planning on. We spend all day long, sometimes days, if not, talking to friends, family, looking for advice, looking for guidance. And in my particular case, I wasn't looking to do any of that. I really believe that God led that man there.
Yeah.
And again, I established my own company. I learned a lot about it. I just as yourself, I love to study people and things and how things work. So I became, in a sense, an expert in flooring. And that's what I've done, again, for 15 years.
Yeah, well, it's, we're both men of faith, right? And they say, God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called, right? And he called you to make a change, and sure as hell equipped you over the last, 15 years and then some, right? Let's go back to before your military service, Tony. What motivated you, man, to get into the Air Force, to serve your country, honor? Thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you, Don. So I had gone to high school. Again, I was in Puerto Rico at the time. My parents had moved there. Obviously, I was, before I would turn 18 years old. But I knew that there was something. I feel so blessed.
Yeah.
And really, I felt like I needed to honor the country and really pay back, in a sense, for the blessings that I've been given in my life. So the Air Force said, I looked at the other branches of service. Really, congrats and thank you for your service. If you are a veteran or if you're serving today. And for me, the Air Force was the place to be. They used to do kind of tests to find out the kind of things you like. And for me, traveling to places, I've always loved sports and stuff like that. So, once they did the test, they said, this is your field.
The Air Force is for you. Okay, cool,
thank you.
Man. That's good. And so Tony, now fast forwarding, to where we are now, man. You're in the flooring business, and when you were building the tea house or even the flooring company, was your family behind you 100%? Was there conflict there? How did you make that work while you were building your businesses?
Good question, John. So clearly, you have to have a good relationship with your spouse. You have to be sure that you are looking after your family in one way or the other. But I really let God guide my life in a sense of what we were going to do. Back to the flooring really just came about in the sense of the way I described it earlier. But I really, again, you have to have something from inside that motivates you to want to do what you're doing. So it just, when you look at it, and again, remember that I had learned a lot about that. So I had been, managing and director over many, many areas in the airline industry, whether it was customer service, consumer relations, etc. So that kind of prepared me to get on my own.
Yeah, you had the basic skill set.
Yes.
You just had to learn to be a business owner, along the way. That makes sense. Now, Tony, that actually works perfectly going into our discussion topic, because we're going to talk about God, family, and business, and how they're all intertwined, and they're all separate, and they're all behind everything and in everything we do. And excuse me, and you said something on the way into today when we were setting everything up about how you get up at 5:30 in the morning, and so why don't you walk everybody through? And I know sometimes it could change, right? But why don't you walk everybody through like your morning routine? Where you fit some of those things in, to your morning.
Yeah, John. Well, I tend to overeat, obviously.
You, me both.
A little bit, but realistically, for me, it is extremely important to have prayer in the morning. As many of us business owners and that go about our lives, we know that the day gets busy. Yesterday was a typical day for me. Started out at a business meeting at 7 a.m. With a suit on, then go change, and I had to go to a meeting where we were attempting to organize an event that was coming up. At 2 o'clock, I was at a board of directors meeting at the National Association of Minority Contractors, where I'm a part of that board, and ended up, at 5 o'clock, I went to a network in Mixer, if you would, and at 7 o'clock, I was at a 3-year-old birthday party having a piece of cake. So that's you really spend some long times in doing your business if you're going to do it right. And sometimes it's a sacrifice. Sometimes, unfortunately, our families end up sacrificing depending on the decisions we make. And it's always great to have that balance, to be sure that you spend time with your family as well as in the business. But sometimes so yesterday was one of those days when my family had to sacrifice. But I always felt, my wife has always respected my decision in terms of what we needed to do. Obviously, she is a confidant, so we can talk about things while we're at home having dinner and all that. So never conflict on that. There's always advice, and it's always easy for anyone, including your own family, to give you advice in hindsight. Things go right.
Of course.
So there are things, not everything is going to go right, John, and I highly encourage people watching this to be sure that they think about when you happen not to do it right, and when you have a failure, that doesn't mean that's a stopping point.
That's right.
That's just
that's a stepping stone.
You're applying the brakes, that you got to go see what direction you need to go, because we're all going to make mistakes. And we can't beat ourselves up for it. That, again, there are going to be roadblocks. And you just got to overcome them. And again, here we are later.
Well, and that's just it. The failures are a stepping stone, right? It's we can you take a step back to take a leap forward, right? It's what's your bounce. I talk to everybody all the time about what's your bounce back time. Like how we're all gonna have failures. I mean, constantly we have that one didn't work, right? But it's how fast can you try the next thing, right? And to speak to that, by the way, I was telling you earlier, like, I'm usually the one in the morning that's responsible for taking care of my daughter, right? I get her up, I feed her, and I take her where she's got to go, and sometimes she's here with me in the office, right? But that's just it. When we're in business, sometimes there is no balance. Like, we have the vision of creating ultimate balance, because if we work for 40 years, we're forever imbalanced, right? But we might be imbalanced for 5 or 10 or 15 years, or my wife and I had the same conversation, just like, hey, there's going to be some days where we won't see each other, but we're going to have tons of freedom to do what we want to do when we want to do it. So where have you? And I really want us to go down this road, man, because we're both men of faith, and you're so. And I love seeing your stuff on social media. By the way, every morning, if that fires me up, seeing you share, something about the word or whatever it might be, man. Where has God been present, man, in your business? Well, you know what? Let's take it. Where's God been present in your life? Than in your business.
John, I was raised Catholic, and I say, a lot of people have that simply because their parents have done the right thing.
Sure.
And they've taken them to whatever church their parents belong to.
Right.
And a part of me will always be Catholic. As I went on my own, probably, and I say that as a grown-up.
I know what you mean.
Then I simply attend a non-denominational church today. I was part of the largest church in America, which happens to be here in Houston, Texas.
Sure.
I was at Lakewood for over 20 years.
Wow.
And I think that the way I tell people about it is that, I knew about a God, but I developed my relationship when I started to really go to the church today. I attend a much smaller church, at Grace Church in Garden Oaks, right there near my house. And I know that at some point when I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, it totally changed my life. I've shared with you before that in where I'm at in life today is more about how can I help someone more than looking after. There was a time in my life, like everybody else, that I was after the almighty dollar. There's no question. We've all worked hard, and listen, that's the reward that we have while we're here, is that we tend to get that money, and then we're able to spend it with friends and family, etc. To do that. So I've been there. Today, my life is a little bit different. My blessings have come my way beyond what I can describe, or beyond what I can be grateful for.
Yeah, and now you just want to be a blessing to others, right? Amen. Yeah, and that's big, Tony, because I was raised Catholic too, and it's interesting because when I came to Houston at that time, I had fallen so far away from my faith, and it wasn't, and really until I got into business for myself, and I was asking some of the leaders, what do you do, like when you're, because you have ups and downs in business, and I'm tough just like you're tough, but every person has that breaking point where like I don't know what to do. And I was asking me, what do you guys, do when you're at that point? And they literally said, I go to church. Yeah. What do you got going on this Sunday? Hey, is your family, is your life, is your eternal life and your business worth it that you're going to come check this out with me? And I said, yeah, I'll come. I trust you. I've been wounded by, my church in the past. But I trust you. And let me come check this out. And my goodness, thank you, Jesus, that I made that decision. And I plugged in. I was at Hope City for a while, for a considerable amount of time, and I actually made a transition just with life schedule and stuff like that to plug into Elevation virtually now, right? So, and I really enjoy Steve Furtick and all the stuff that he brings to the table, right? So when you're in the morning, and you're, before you get after it, before you go to your networking meetings, before you get, do whatever it is that you're doing, where do you, this is going to sound so bad, and someone's going to say something to me, but I don't mean it this way. Where do you fit God into your day?
Yeah, so God has got to be number one, John. Yeah. There's we can all do that. Yes, I know that I need to get some exercise. Yeah. So I got my treadmill over there that I was using a lot. As you know, I've had a few problems with my knees lately. Yeah. But God is number one. When I get up in the morning, there's one thing I want to do. Clearly, I wash my face. I want to brush my teeth. All of that needs to be done. Yeah. But I feel if I don't do prayer at that time, and as you know, I post every morning, mostly Christian related topics. Not a lot. I feel we are so short in life period, in the amount of time that we dedicate to anything, right? So the messages are just messages that are meant to make you think for a short period of time. Oh, you know what? I just read that. And that happens. That's why some of these mediums are so popular, Facebook, Instagram, etc., that people look at them because the message is there, and then it's up to us to grab it and say, okay, how does that apply to me? Yeah. So as you know, I do that every morning. It doesn't matter if it's Saturday, Sunday. I still do that same thing. I get up in the morning, and the first thing I do is really turn to my prayer. Most times not long. But it's every single. I made it a habit, as you know, when we do things on a consistent basis over a period of time. And for me, it's important that I get that word out there to the people, because I got, just like yourself, I got many friends, family members, etc., that look for that. And realistically, it's rewarding to know that I've had people tell me, hey, I didn't see one of your messages yesterday. Yeah. That means that if I was late or if I was, that they miss it. So it's a great thing. It's a great feeling. The reward is not to me, but to God, because they're looking for that message to come in. Yeah, and I think that's, where a lot of your blessings have come from, Tony. It's because you put Him first, right? And I'm sure you do the same thing where you put God first in your marriage and in your family as well, right? How have you, because you were raised Catholic, right? So how did you develop that over time while you were building your family? So, you mentioned a little bit earlier, John, that how same thing as in business. when it comes to Christianity or just about everything in our lives, right?
Yeah.
There's times when we eat real well for a period of time, and then we go back to bad habits and all that. And the same thing happens in Christianity or in the world. We tend to be a little less strong or more strong, and I really try to apply it in every situation. When you are offended not only by family or whatever else, you have to quickly put it aside in order to go on, and that renewing of coming about. Sometimes we don't see the blessing in the work we're doing. And again, yesterday was a long day, so it was not easy to pause at some point in there and see the blessing, but the blessing is there. And when you really wake up, when we're out there driving around, we're stopped at a light or something like that, sometimes I hope you do the same thing, and everyone here listening and watching, that we figure out, sometimes I sit there and I go, wow, incredible. I've been driving for a whole bunch of days, or I've been driving this morning. I've seen accidents. I haven't been a part of it. I hope God blesses those people. But I'm so blessed that I didn't get into an accident. I'm so blessed that I got up this morning. There are so many wins that we have every day that we have to really pause and think about those things.
And most people don't even realize them, Tony.
Yeah. It's not something that we really think about. You're going to your next meeting. You got your next client. You got your next work that you got to accomplish. And we do have to. I do take the time, and by that, John, I'm not by any means talking about being perfect. I'm talking about just simply taking a minute, taking a short period of time to be reminded of the blessings that you have throughout the day in your life.
Tony, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm 100% making that like one of our clips. I know you've seen some stuff like where I usually will cut part of the episode as the Instagram clip. That was awesome, man, and that's so powerful. I'm gonna share that with my guys.
Thank
man.
you.
I love that, because especially when we're in business, man, we're so go. We're so, man, I want to get here. I want to get to the next level. Or even listen, I don't know if you've experienced this, but there's also haters out there, right? They'd say, go get a real job. You're never gonna make it. Business isn't for you. Our family from Cuba, we don't do those things. My family from New Jersey, we don't do those things, right? And it gets you down, but you don't realize, hey, I had so many wins today. God gave me so many blessings. First of all, we woke up. Right? We got to see our families, that thank God they're here. We got to get into a vehicle. We own a vehicle where some people walk in different parts of the world, or even in different parts of the city. We have a roof overhead. We got food in the fridge, right? Most of us do, because we just had to replace it, right? Thank God we could replace the food in our fridge, right? And we get to build our lives.
Yeah, John, I'm sure that some of the folks watching this are going to say, wow, this guy just talked about, how things are perfect, and if you believe in God, everything is... The Bible tells us that there are going to be roadblocks. But, you look at something as simple as you talked about, that you are responsible for getting your daughter to where she's going in the morning, while your wife prepares to go to work as well. Just think about that. Some people can take that same situation and say, man, I got to get my daughter to where she needs to be. I got to hurry. I got to prepare myself. I got to do all these things. You get to spend time with your daughter in the morning. Your beautiful daughter, you get to put her where she needs to be. You need to get her to where she needs to be. Look at it. We have to, in many occasions, we have to look at situations that are presented to us in a very positive light. And it doesn't mean perfect. It's not going to be every day. Listen, unfortunately, you may have had a disagreement with your wife the night before. You're not going to feel 100% that day. Maybe that day is only 90%. But listen, the next day, when you and your wife are in tune and you had a nice dinner and you had that day, obviously you're going to feel yourself 100%. But it's the ups and downs of life, and this is the life that we live today.
Yeah, and you're right. It's just the way you choose to look at it, right? And I think that's the way that God calls us to look at things, right? It doesn't matter that the glass is literally half empty. It's half full. Listen, it's 100% full. Half of water, half of air, right? Just the way you look at that. I love that, Tony. That's good. And with your family, Tony, man, why don't you share with everybody, how you've built your family around your business, and
So,
everything you're doing?
John, great question. Obviously, I'm on the second part of my life, if you would. By this point, I happen to have a special need daughter.
Yeah.
That I was blessed to be able to buy two townhouses. We have one where she lives in, and there's a nanny that looks after her. She goes to a little school most days,
Yeah.
Monday through Friday, and all that. But so when you mention my family today, I'm looking at the people that are with me, meaning my wife and my daughter today.
Yeah.
And clearly, she's on the weekends she comes with us and all that. But my wife is involved in the business. She does the accounting for the company and stuff like that. So she's in tune. She's never been a big business person.
Sure.
So she looks to me to guide us there. But listen, at the home, then obviously that's where she takes the leadership of making sure the house is organized, clean, and all that, and that we live a good life. But again, when I look at life, I just look at the blessings. There is so much you can sit there and continue with that glass half full and half empty.
Yeah.
And I tend to focus on the positives. There is going to be the negatives. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
But listen, the family, it's all a part of it. We like to get away whenever we can. Normally, we're good all Americans, and Americans, we tend to do short vacations. Our friends in Europe, they take long vacations.
Yes.
So we tend to do, we pretty normal, pretty standard in that. We happen to again be blessed with a place that we have a vacation home that we can go to. But aside from that, again, another one of those blessings. I've been all over the world, John. I really,
That's right. Yeah.
I've got to travel a lot, being in the airline business. Today, I'm more interested in more of the things that happen in the U.S. side.
Yeah.
But family and country has been a blessing the whole time.
Yeah, and Tony, when you were getting Floors of Love off the ground, did you have a lot of balance in your family life at that time, or were you really grinding it out, or what did that? Because I've had, this will be episode 17, right? So we've had 16 episodes of either me and Robert. You'll meet him on the way out. He just got here, or other people that we both know, together, talking about how it's most of us have the same story, and a handful of us it's been a little different. But what was that early grind and Floors to Love like for you, Tony, with your family and everything else?
John, here's another message for people that may be struggling with this.
Yeah.
When I started, as I'm very competitive. I try to do things right.
Yes.
I try to win at whatever I try to do.
Yeah.
So when we first started, no question about it, brother. We used to work Saturdays and Sundays. If the customer said come on a Sunday, we used to do that.
Yeah.
When I look back after a short period of time at the very beginning, and trust me, it wasn't that I wanted to stop, but I figured out that as I would try to work on Sundays, specifically Sunday, that I wasn't going anywhere. It was like spinning wheels.
There was so much resistance.
It was, the equipment wouldn't work right.
Yeah.
The guys wouldn't get there on time.
Yeah.
The customer would be upset that something happened. And as I made that decision, we try our best today to avoid Sundays. Certainly, those of us that are responsible for the sales side and making sure that our customers are there, we don't open the showrooms, the two showrooms. As you know, we have 2 locations. We don't open them on Sunday. We may go and finish a job or something if somebody has to get back in there on Monday, for example, or something like that. But the weekends we try our best to try to stay away from there. Everyone needs to rest at some point in that, and if all we do is grind and grind, it doesn't get anywhere. So if you are struggling out there with saying, "Oh, mine, can I stop working on Sundays?" Listen, you may not want to do that, but let yourself look back at what you've done, and that goes for someone out there if don't work if God is telling you don't work on Sunday, then don't work on Sunday. You have 6 other days to make up for that day that you
Yeah.
can do whatever you want to do. So, for us, it was that. But at the very beginning, we worked extremely hard. John, I started like everybody else. I bought used vans. I bought, I brought the people in. We had some kind of uniform, whatever we could buy cheap. But listen, we wanted to learn, and I want to make sure that the guys were studying and doing whatever they could. So, we did whatever we had to do. Again, the blessing has been there, and we've continued on. Today, we do. We really sincerely do more than 250 jobs a year, John. So we're stayed busy. We have 2 locations. When you think, I'm mesmerized when I think about that, because obviously you clearly, when you get started, you don't ever think you're going to be there, and I never consider it getting to the end. All we're doing is getting better, and improving. Right. So we do that, and we continue to do that today. But we certainly, we perform a lot. We perform a lot of, a lot of people have wood floors. They've been affected out there with the rain, etc., that we've had in the hurricane. And listen, we do a lot of that. So we are extremely busy at the moment. Just really, and while every business is in business to make money, you also are in business to help the community. So we really look at it. When John Brucato calls me up and says, "Hey, my floor just got wet due to that," I want John to be able to get back into his house the way it was or better as soon as he possibly can. So we put every effort out there, and I get fulfilled by knowing that we were able to help somebody make the improvements on their floors in their house, whether it would be a bathroom that we tile, or whether it would be a kitchen backsplash, all of the things that we end up doing in the business. I get fulfilled by knowing we got those people back in, we perform it on time, we met their image of what a flooring company could do. And that was part of our challenge at the very beginning. Is I started this company, John, with a vision that I wanted to be sure that people have a different thought about hiring a contractor than the whatever bad image they may have had in the past. Unfortunately, people are don't finish the job, they don't start the job on time.
Or they make it looks all jacked up.
So we want to be sure. Listen, we may not be perfect, but we're certainly going to try to be good to the max.
And I love that, Tony. I think that's a great way for us to wrap up our conversation, because when you're building your business, the early years you do grind it out, but you also learn it out, right? And then as you grow in your business, you get to the position where you can hire help, and they might even be more skilled than you or I. I've got so many great people in my business that are so much better than me. Thank God that I paid the price the first couple of years. Thank God you paid the price the first couple of years. And by the way, we didn't pay it alone, right? Our families paid it with us. And we had God had our back the entire time. But Tony, as we close things out, I think it would be great if people want to connect with you, Tony, if they want to talk to you about flooring, or if they want to talk about their time in the service, or they want to talk faith with you, or they want to talk about business with you or family. What's the best way, Tony, for people to connect with you?
So, John, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for what you're doing. May you be blessed at all times. So for me, love talking to people, as you guys can see. And realistically, my phone number is 713-446-5654. As you know, I was one of those early owners that truly my company is in my pocket. That would be on in my phone. Feel free to call me if you want to have an estimate or anything like that. We highly encourage you to go to our website, which is www.floors2love.com. That's the number 2luv.com. We look at it, we receive the messages, and we're out there. But love to talk to you, anyone out there, about flooring, about faith, family, or anything that I can help them with. It would be a blessing. for me to do that.
Awesome, Tony. I appreciate you guys. Hey, thank you guys for plugging in to Unleash Your Potential podcast. If you're not already connected, check us out on Spotify. Check us out on YouTube, Instagram at Unleash Your Potential _podcast. We'll be back again next week, Houston, for more nuggets on leveling up, growing yourself, growing your business, and growing everything else, guys. So take care.